Alright, good evening and welcome to the third installment of our synthesis review for term 3. This is the final installment and we are going to be rounding up and finishing our synthesis review for the items we've covered in Unit 6 and 7. And you are welcome to go and try out the various questions in the worksheets I've attached to this assignment in Edmodo after you finish viewing this third installment. Alright, so we're going to be covering much to, however, and no matter how. Right, they're all three of them related to each other, but they have different functions and they work differently with different parts of speech. So let's launch into much to without further ado. So much to is a connector that indicates a change in a word form from a verb to a noun. Right? So in order for you to change from a verb to a noun, you need to identify the verb in the sentence. You need to change it into a noun by adding a suffix. I'll give you an example very soon. You need to insert a comma, and you need to delete any repeated words or replace them with pronouns. Very much like what we do for all the other synthesis items, very much in keeping with synthesis rule number 4. Okay, so I've put the instructions in the bottom right hand corner of the slide, so you can refer to it as we look at this question. Okay, so we were amazed that Jared was able to eat 100 pies. Alright, so the verb of the sentence is amazed, right? And we are supposed to change amazed from a verb into a noun by adding a suffix. Now be very careful, I'm not asking you to change amazed into a gerund, right? So it won't make any sense. We can't change amazed into a gerund, we've got to change it into a noun by adding a different suffix, okay? So in this case, you'll find that it's the suffix ment, right, added to amazed, right? So much to our, so notice that we changes in its pronoun form into our, and our is the possessive pronoun that links to the amazement that is felt by us. Okay, so this links amazement to us. It's our amazement. So we becomes our. The pronoun we becomes the possessive pronoun our. Much to our amazement, and this is where the comma comes in, synthesis rule number 3, Jared was able to eat 100 pies. So verb changes into noun, pronoun changes into possessive pronoun, comma is added, and in this case, we did not have to delete any words. Okay, we simply replaced our pronoun with a possessive pronoun. All right. So much to is always possessed by followed by a possessive pronoun. Much to our, much to his, much to her, much to their. Okay, so this is the pattern, much to, followed by a possessive pronoun. A pronoun, the pronoun that tells you it belongs to something else. In this case, our refers to the amazement belonging to us. It's our amazement. Okay, so let's look at the next one. Okay, Mr. Quack was frustrated that he was unable to lift Mr. Pang. Okay, so again, the subject is Mr. Quack. The verb is frustrated, so we've got to change frustrated into a noun using a suffix. In this case, the suffix is tion, frustration. So much to his frustration. Okay, who is his? Mr. Quack, replaced with the pronoun his. Okay, comma is inserted. Mr. Quack comes to the back here. So notice, whenever I have much to, it's always a possessive pronoun. It's never the subject. So you can't say much to Mr. Quacks. It's always the possessive pronoun his. Alright? So much to his frustration, Mr. Quack was unable to lift. Oh, sorry, there's a mistake here. To lift Mr. Pang. Alright? So I'm sorry about that. I was trying to do these slides out a little bit too quickly, but there's a missing word here. Unable to lift Mr. Pang. I'll change it before I post these slides in Edmodo later. Okay? So much to, again, always followed by a possessive pronoun. Much to his frustration. Okay? Much to his frustration. So identify the verb, change it into a noun using the suffix tion, change Mr. Quack into his, the possessive pronoun, right? And then move Mr. Quack, the subject, to the back so that it's not lost and the meaning of the sentence remains the same. Okay? I hope you understand the steps for doing much to. Remember again, if it's too fast, just rewind the video back to the beginning and just view it again so that you get the steps that I follow in order to check that my sentence is synthesized properly. Okay, let's move on to the next item now. However. So however has to do with the idea of no matter how much, okay, so the degree of something, all right? So again, very much like the previous connector, identify the verb, identify the adverb that describes this verb, and then the adverb will connect itself or follow the connector however, okay? Remember to insert a comma because however usually occurs in the front of a sentence, and delete any repeated words or replace them with pronouns. So let's take a look at this example. Jancis rushed through her work quickly. She was unable to complete her work. Okay, so Jancis is the subject. However quickly Jancis rushed through her work. So notice here, I identify the verb rushed. I identify the adverb quickly, so she rushed quickly. And then I moved the adverb to the front to connect with the connector however. So however quickly Jancis rushed through her work, everything else remains the same. I insert a comma, right? She was unable to complete it. Here, I replace her work with it because it is a repeated noun, her work, her work. So the second repeat gets replaced by a pronoun it because work is a non-living thing. So however quickly, adverb comes to the front. Jancis rushed through her work, comma gets inserted. She was unable to complete it. Her work replaced with the pronoun it. Let's try another example because there are quite a few things happening here. Right? Ingrid tried very hard to squeeze the turtle. All right? The turtle refused to laugh. So squeeze is the verb. Right? Very hard is the adverb. Okay? So the word very will be replaced by the word however. All right? So because however has to do with no matter how, right? So this word very, extremely, is taken over by however. So however hard, again here, this is the adverb that describes the action squeeze. Adverb comes to the front. Ingrid tried to squeeze the turtle. It refused to laugh. In this case, here, however hard, after the adverb, the subject appears. All right? However hard, Ingrid tried to squeeze the turtle. It refused to laugh. And here, the pronoun it replaces the turtle because it's a repeated subject. The turtle, the turtle. So it refused to laugh. All right? So identify the verb, identify the adverb. Adverb follows the connector. Subject comes after the adverb. Comma is inserted because the connector is in front, and then the pronoun replaces any repeated nouns. Okay, so there are quite a lot of things going on here, right? Let's look at another related example. Okay, no matter how. So no matter how and however are almost identical in the way that they function, right? If you look through the steps, you'll find that they're exactly the same. So however, no matter how are interchangeable, right? You can use either one of them in exactly the same way. So it's pretty easy, right? So it's the same meaning of however or no matter how, and it describes the degree of something. So again, identify verb, identify adverb, adverb follows connector, insert a comma, delete any repeated words, subject follows the adverb. Okay, so here we go. Jancis rushed through her work quickly. She was unable to complete her work. No matter how quickly, again quickly is the adverb that comes to the front. And then Jancis appears over here, right, connected to the adverb. No matter how quickly Jancis rushed through her work, comma comes into the middle because connector is in front. She was unable to complete it. Again, the repeated noun, her work, is replaced by the pronoun it. Exactly identical to what we saw for however. Alright, so again, same thing. No matter how hard Ingrid tried to squeeze the turtle, comma, it refused to laugh. Okay, so you can see in this case, no matter how and however are interchangeable in the way that they work, right? So whenever one of them is presented, you basically can do it like the other. There is no change, right? So again, my final instruction, keep calm, don't get confused between these three connectors. Thank you very much for paying attention to all three of these short videos on synthesis. I hope they've helped you to resolve some confusions or some misconceptions that you've had about how these connectors function. Again, remember you can review these videos, review them again and again until you master the concepts and try out the questions. retry them until you get the hang of what to look out for, because many of these connectors contain a few moving parts that you need to change. So take your time, don't be in a hurry. Practice, proper practice will make perfect. Thank you very much for your attention. Good night.